The late 60s and early 70s brought in Todd Bauer to add personality to both KTIB and KHOM signal. Here's what he had to say on his career here.
Today, Todd.
Fine, William. How are you?
All righty. Well, let's go back to the beginning. Are you from our area originally?
Well, I'm from New Orleans, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Now, when you were young, was getting into broadcasting always a dream of yours?
Yes, indeed. It's one of the earliest recollections I have is listening to the radio, and my grandfather had a big Zenith tube-type radio that we would listen to, and he would talk about listening to faraway stations, and that was somewhat fascinating to me, so it was something I always wanted to do.
All righty. So, I take it, now, before you got into broadcasting, did you go to college first?
No, I actually got my Federal Communications Commission license before I had my driver's license, so it was kind of the other way around.
Ah, I see. So, was KTIB your first radio job?
No, it was my second. I'd been at KDLA in DeRidder for a brief period when I had the opportunity to move to Thibodeau.
Okay. Well, when you came in to start at the station, about what year was that?
Probably 1968.
Who was the first person at the station you contacted about coming into work here?
Raymond Sadie was the general manager at the time, and I believe Bert Block was the owner of the station.
So you come in from DeRidder, and what were your duties when you came into the station?
I was the morning announcer on AM, and also ran what was already an automated FM station.
Okay. Now, how many years were you here in Thibodeau?
Well, I was there for a couple of years and moved briefly to Houma when Mr. Sadie put on KHOM FM, and then I came back to Thibodeau for a while when the FM station was a rock station, and I learned how to be a rock jock there, and then moved from there to New Orleans.
I know down here, of course, we've had a lot of good long-time broadcasters in our area, but first let me ask you about Mr. Sadie. He must have been a pretty good boss to work for.
He was. He was involved in the community heavily. He was into the little theater. He was, of course, a salesman, and that always takes a great deal of community involvement. And the whole station was just a very classy operation.
I was going to say, another person that was at both KTIB and KHOM, when you were here, do you have a lot of memories of Marie Bergeron?
Oh, yes. She was doing, she did a lot of the actual running of the station, I guess you could say. She had a program called Tradio that was on for a while, and folks would call in and offer items for sale, or it was kind of the eBay of radio.
Mm-hmm. How about a gentleman who was a pretty good established announcer for a long time, and I believe he also did news, Roy Dicknair?
Yep, Roy was on the station. He had gone when I got there and came back a little later on. Of course, Roy was married to a local girl, had his family there, and he was a wonderful guy.
Did you happen to know Leroy Martin?
Yes, I did. In fact, Leroy was probably one of the reasons I got hired, because he was doing the country show there on the weekends, and Leroy was still active, playing music and doing some traveling at the time. Of course, he was a wonderful singer and a songwriter. Had written a couple of 2 or 3 hit songs, and when Leroy would go out on tour or go somewhere to make an appearance frequently, the country show wouldn't have somebody that was conversant with country music and willing to jump in there and take it. So I had come from a country station to KTIB, so I was fortunate that when Leroy would be out making his appearances and whatnot, that I would get the show. And so I would jock the country songs on the weekend. That was great fun.
Another gentleman, I think he was at KTIB during the window you were there. Did you know Hugh Smith?
Yeah, I didn't work with Hugh for very long. He came kind of toward the period that I was getting ready to leave. But, Hugh was a fine engineer, helped us make the move from the old First Federal Bank building down to the new building, where I say new building, but it was a very historic old building there in Thibodaux.
Okay, and now from that point, I believe, is that when you went to go to work in New Orleans?
Pretty much, yeah. It was about that same time period, right after the move.
Okay, and like I said, I know you've, I remember you most memorably at WTIX-AM as well as WWL-AM. At that point, were you mostly a news anchor?
Well, I had always trained myself to be a news anchor. I studied journalism, started studying there at Nichols and transferred to Loyola University. But when I made the move to New Orleans, I moved to TIX. KTIB-FM had become kind of a farm club for TIX, and we sounded very much like TIX, perhaps with a more college town edge to it. But I had already become friends with Bob Walker and real Robert Mitchell and some of those guys at TIX. And when the openings started coming, well, I was fortunate enough to step in.
Mm-hmm. There's one gentleman I want you to talk about for a minute, because we currently air his Friday night and Saturday morning sports shows, and I'm very sure often you probably worked with him, though maybe not in the same departments. Kenny Trahan.
Yep, worked with Kenny at WWL for a number of years. Kenny started there in Thibodaux, as so many people did. You know, people probably lose sight of just how many fine professional broadcasters came out of KTIB as a result of Ray Sagi. So, you know, it all goes back to having what I described earlier as a very classy little radio station.
Well, tell everybody right now, what are you currently employed at?
Well, I'm at WWL Television, Channel 4 here in New Orleans, and I produce the morning shows.
Okay, and I take it you also work alongside a lady who I consider a friend, Val Amity.
Yes, I do.
Oh.
In fact, she's my co-producer in the morning. See her quite frequently, yeah.
Very good. And I take it must be pretty interesting to work with people like Eric Paulson and Sally Ann Roberts.
Every day is different, that's for sure.
And we've gotten to know both of them on the occasions they visit the Thibodaux area. Great bunch of people. And then, of course, I believe David Bernard's been with the station for, what, about 6 years now?
Has it been that long? I'm not sure.
Mm-hmm.
Time flies.
Well, actually, while I'm thinking about it, and we may be straying off a little bit, but unfortunately, as the time we're doing this interview, a pretty established gentleman from WWL just passed away, Bill Elder. He must have been one heck of a respectable anchor.
Bill was a wonderful talent. Of course, he came to Channel 4 via Lafayette, where he had done his young reporting, and was just a fine broadcaster. It was my privilege to be his producer for a number of years, doing the 12 noon and the 5 p.m. shows on Channel 4 with Bill. So, yeah, we'll miss him.
Okay, well, before we go, is there anything you'd like to say to all the nice people here at the home of Thibodaux area?
Well, congratulations on 50 great years of broadcasting. It's a fine little radio station, and when you think of KTIB, be proud. It's a great outfit.
Todd Bauer, part of KTIB's solid foundation of top-notch broadcasters.